few months ago, someone suggested that we cover this topic, and I remember hearing a net on 2 meters a couple months ago, where the host of the net was asking people to go around those who had checked in and provide their comments on how much they do WinLink. And most, I would say over 90% of the participants in the net said they'd never heard of it. So I thought, well, I'm not alone. But apparently there are a lot of people who have heard of it, who have used it and find it very helpful. So I decided, okay, it's time to get educated, and it's as good a motivating factor as I have to try to present something about it. So what I'm going to do is present tonight the little I know about it, and hopefully there are those who know a lot more about it that will feel free to correct if I make a mistake or add to it. There's a lot more to this than what I'm going to show as basically a little introduction. I did manage to make a couple emails, or send and receive emails to myself to test out the system. So I have made some progress on this, but I will show you what I've got, and then perhaps there's someone in a position tonight to do a live demo if they want, if we have time. I have got it set up in my ham shack, which is in the basement, and I'm up on the main floor here. So otherwise, I could probably do a demo, but I think what I'm going to present tonight hopefully will get your interest if you're not into WinLink. Explain it, what it is, and why you might want to get into it, and why a lot of people use it, and then if you can set up your radio to do digital modes, you're pretty much there already as far as WinLink goes. Okay, so with that, I am going to find out where is this share button. Here we go. Okay, so there's introduction to WinLink. So what is it? It's a worldwide network administered by hams that provides email when there's no internet to use. It's built and operated and administered by licensed ham operators, volunteers, and it's supported by the Amateur Radio Safety Foundation, Inc., which is an American nonprofit, and they have a registered trademarks of WinLink Global Radio Email. So that's basically an extension of amateur radio that connects between radio and the internet through email servers. So who uses it? Amateur radio operators, obviously, and you can send email over HF or VHF. I should have put UHF as well. You can also, a lot of people that use this are marine operators on the ocean or Great Lakes. You can request weather forecasts and so on through various networks, and participate in various networks to exchange traffic. People that are into emergency communications can send emails through this. ARIES, RACES, or RACES, others, and so on. So it's got quite a broad subscription. Government auxiliary radio services like Mars in the US. So it does require, if you're using RF, that you have your certification as an amateur radio operator. So here's a little history. It kind of grew out of several key technologies of packet radio back in the day, AmTOR on HF, and a bulletin board style packet mailboxes. In the early 1980s, this guy, W5SMM, developed an application called AP Link that connected HF radio, AmTOR, and VHF, UHF packets through a bulletin board system. and developed the WinLink Classic. It led to that WinLink Classic in the early 1990s. They called it NetLink. It was added, and then WinLink 2000 was a complete redesign. Introduced this global server network concept and automated RMS gateway stations. We talk about RMS in a second here. And use the internet backbone to link these gateway stations. So as the internet grew and as packet radio sort of flourished, it became more streamlined. And then, of course, with sound cards becoming more ubiquitous, various other formats developed, including Winmore, RDOF, Vera, HF, Vera FM, and the Vera ones are the ones that are probably most used today. And then there are thousands of these RMS gateways now that do radio-based email, file retrieval for weather reports, positioning, bulletins, and emergency messaging. It's kind of a brief background that covers probably 40 years. So what's an RMS gateway? It's not root mean square. It's a radio message server, and it acts as a bridge between amateur radio and the internet, kind of like a post office that moves email to and from ham radio operators. The RMS allows hams to send or receive email without a direct internet connection. That's the key point for this whole presentation. So if you're in a place that has no internet, you can still send and receive emails if you have your ham radio set up properly. And it routes messages to the WinLink network. So everybody that subscribes to this gets your own unique email address and delivers messages back to the users over radio, kind of like a mail drop. So from the user side, you sign up, you subscribe to this, and you can compose your email on a Windows PC. It doesn't work on a Apple, I don't believe. There is a alternative for Android, but it doesn't support Vera, is what I found out at this point. Maybe someone could correct this if they know of some other way around that. But normally it requires a Windows PC to compose your email and run WinLink Express. So you compose your email, and now you want to send your email. So you have to connect to a RMS gateway, either through the HF or VHF or UHF radio transceiver that you own. And it is basically going to generate the tones. Excuse me. It's connected to through a TNC or through a device that is capable like a signaling. And then you connect to the gateway. The RMS receives the message and forwards it over the internet to the recipient. Now, if they're not online or whatever, it'll wait up to about 21 days. So when someone logs in to the nearest RMS, you can basically request automatically check in to see if there's any emails waiting for you. Excuse me. So this is called the store and forward messaging aspect of the of WinLink. And there's just a diagram showing that if your station's down on the bottom left, you've got a laptop or some kind of computer connected to your radio. It can be a handy talkie or a base station. And you've got a radio link then set up to one of these RMS gateways that will basically store your information, your email and routing information in one of these servers. And then when somebody logs in next that's been targeted in your email, they will receive that message and can reply and so on. It's not fast, but I understand it's a lot faster than it used to be. In previous times, it might take a week or two Um, now I was able to receive within 20 minutes or so some of the emails I sent. So, for example, I'm doing a summit on the air, and I hurt myself. I need to email for help. Fortunately, I'm within range of a 70 centimeter repeater. I noticed there's one V6FAR. It actually shouldn't be called a repeater. It's an RMS. It's actually not a repeater. So I should correct that slide. And and I have my equipment with me that has the TNC with the radio and my little laptop that I can compose my email. So how do I do that? I've installed my software and so on, and I compose my email. I connect to, in this case, I'm using a Signal Link, which are these little sound card interfaces. Configure WinLink Express. I've already done that, which basically just requires your call sign in a grid square and having registered so you have an email address with them. You set it up in Vera FM or the sound card mode that's supported by your interface and choose the gateway that you're familiar with. And there are ways of listing those. There aren't many in Alberta. I'll show you a map. And then you click on New Message, enter the recipient email address, subject body, and connect to that RMS gateway. Once connected, your email will be sent, and then you disconnect and hope for the best. So here I downloaded maps, and this is within WinLink, the application itself on the PC. You can look for maps, and I found that V6FAR is at 431 megahertz, and it's got an omnidirectional antenna, which is good, so anyone can access it from any direction. And you're somewhere in the area that you may be able to reach that that site. Now I looked up in the repeater book, and I don't see V6FAR, and I discovered it's because it's not a repeater. It's a WinLink site dedicated to that. So, and it may be having other applications run there. It may have a repeater on it, but it would be called something else. And it's in AX25 packet mode. So I can learn all that from just looking it up in the WinLink application itself. So now here I am, another example, but I'm camping in the backcountry with no cell coverage. I have my HF rig, I have my laptop, and I have this interface that generates the tones, and I want to send an email. And so I use Vera HF in this case. You can see I'm on 40 meters here, and this actual site, BE7RUR, showed up in the listing of all the stations and the frequency. So I set my radio to that frequency, and I create the email in WinLink, and away it goes. So this just shows in WinLink Express the settings. So I put my call sign in here. This is from the settings menu. This other screen pops up. I've got a password in here, and I've got my name, address, and so on listed here, my grid square. That's all that really you need to do to get started on this stuff, set it up. And then when you say message, this comes up, and you looks like a regular email. So fill that out. And then you select the type of session you wish, packet, peer-to-peer, or in this case, you want Vera HF radio only. And then you see here that it's created when I joined b6tl@winlink.org. That's my email address, and I successfully sent testing 123 to another one of my email addresses. So it's pretty straightforward. On VHF, UHF, you typically use Vera FM, much faster than packet. Requires some sort of USB sound card or interface. There are other devices, rig blasters that can do it. There are radios that have built-in interfaces, like the some Yaesu and Kenwood, I believe. I listed a couple here, and but most VHF, UHF radios cannot be directly connected to a PC. But the ICOM IC705, 7100s are not HTs, but they can connect to a PC through the USB port and have a built-in sound card, so they can do the job directly, I believe. And there's probably a few others. And this is my session. I did some screen captures from my WinLink session. B6TL shows up at the top. And this is the guy I connected to, W6LHR, on 20 meters, and shows you your bandwidth. This is, so you're in the middle of this, 250 hertz up and down. And it says I have 50 daily minutes remaining, so I haven't donated any funds yet, so I'm just testing this out. I think you can get longer minutes if you contribute some funds. And it says for users running unregistered versions of Vera, limited to 10 minutes. And so it actually went through and it was sending it, and so I got my message through. As you're doing this, it comes up with a screen that looks kind of funny, but basically it's got your bit rate that you're sending. You've got a this thing I need to fix up. Anyway, your signal strength, how much CPU is being used by your computer. If the signal is pretty weak, this may increase to try to filter. I use a more powerful filter. So you'll see the usage of your CPU go up. And then there's an automatic frequency control, kind of like RTTY has. This compensates for drift in the station that's receiving you, and a signal to noise meter as well. And then you can actually see the waterfall display as you're sending. And the first time I tried this, there was a guy on this frequency who was sending CW. So immediately WinLink said this frequency is busy. And once he stopped sending CW, it said frequency available, and automatically sent my message. And you can see down here, W6LHR is who I'm connected to. So what it does, what Vera HF does, is it from the received signal, it measures the signal to noise ratio. It measures your error rate and also the fading. And based on these measurements, it dynamically sets the bit rate, the forward error correction level, and the interleaving, which counteracts QSB. It does not predict the propagation. It doesn't do any HF modeling like VOA cap, but it gives you an idea of which bands would be best at that time of day, just based on some statistical approach. Doesn't use the solar data or maximum usable frequency. So you have to know yourself what bands are best to use when you're trying to send your email. And again, it doesn't transmit if it sees that that frequency is busy. So here's a global map. This is for Vera HF on WinLink. And the green dots receive recent reports, yellow not so recent, and red they haven't checked in for an extended period of time. And I think when I was doing this, it was fairly late at night or something, and so some of this was based on stations not being accessed for HF wasn't all that good at their time of day. I don't know. I forget why this was so many red stations. But anyway, there's the ones that had been accessed lately were green here. And then you've got a channel selector. This is one of the menus in WinLink Express. And you can see all the different frequencies. There's call sign. This next column is frequencies. So there's a 20 meter, there's 40, there's 80. The mode, I believe this is the 2.3 kilohertz audio bandwidth, which translates into speed. So if it's a narrower bandwidth here, it's going to take longer. Grid squares, how many hours a day it's on. So from 0 to 23, that means 24 hours a day. Public group, I guess there are other things than public. I haven't researched that. How far away they are, a bearing, and path reliability estimate. So there's a lot of information, and you can try different, if you can't succeed or if you don't succeed on your first go, you can try a different station. Key takeaways, email over radio is very much a possibility when the internet goes down. It's a global system. There's multiple modes. I was just showing mostly Vera. I haven't really investigated the other ones. It's store and forward messaging. In other words, it may not get delivered right away. It may take a couple weeks or up to 3 weeks, hopefully long before that. And a lot of the emergency organizations are using it as a backup for their communications if things are not accessible through the internet. And yet you still need pretty good radio knowledge of propagation if you're going to be doing it on HF or even VHF, knowing where your line of sight is. The bottom line is WinLink turns a radio into a resilient communication system, one that works when everything else doesn't. So that's what I have. And I will stop sharing this for now and open it up for comments and people's experiences. Someone want to? First, I will also thank Ken AGR for his encouragement in doing this. He sent me my first WinLink email, so I believe he uses VHF radio. So I'm going to ask him first off what equipment he has that he's able to do this.
Okay, I've tried it a couple of ways. I've tried Vera FM using the VE6 FAR digipeater that you were highlighting there, the one that FARS runs on 431 megahertz, and that works really well from my place. But if you had, say, a really widespread internet outage like we had in 2013 in the flood, that might not be good enough, to get an email out to tell your relatives that you were still alive or whatever. So then, you can go to Vera HF. So I've tried that as well. I did buy the extra license for the high-speed versions of Vera, and it's great. It's lickety-split quick in sending. But I mean, that's in relative terms, not like when you press send on, an internet connected computer quick, but it's pretty decent bit rate. So I've been fairly happy with it. I haven't used it a lot. It's sort of, it's really big among the MCOM, prepper sort of communities and that kind of thing. But it's fun to play with something, send an email to yourself or to your friends. Where a lot of the path happened over RF rather than just conventional internet delivery. So that part was kind of enjoyable. There's a couple of little wrinkles you have to get used to. When you send somebody an email with WinLink, they're not going to get it from your regular email address. So instead of my regular email address, you're going to see the from line being ve6agr@winlink.org. So that might bounce from their spam filter unless they've kind of, whitelisted it or something. And conversely, I think people can reply to a message that you send, okay. But if they're trying to send you a message via the WinLink system, you have to whitelist them in your profile. that you've got set up in your WinLink Express thing. So there's a few little wrinkles like that you have to kind of get your head around as you initially get the thing all configured. WinLink or on Vera HF using that FARS digipeater works really reliably, like for me at least, just every time. WinLink HF is a bit trickier. The software is really slick because when you go into HF, it presents you with propagation forecasts in rank order from most probable to succeed down to least probable among the RMSs that are out there. So there might be one that's in your skip zone and it knows that, and it's saying that, your probability of success in contacting that RMS is 20%, but there's some station over in Washington State or BC where it's 90. And if you double click on that station, it'll automatically set your radio to their center frequency. And then you can, say start session and away it goes. And it'll try, 3 or 4 times, five. You can change how many times it'll try in your settings, and it tries away. And if you get a reply back, and you can hear it bleeping and blooping back and forth, then the message actually sends. And it does it in sections. It usually doesn't all go at once unless it's an extremely short message. So there'll be a little bit back and forth beep and exchange between your computer and the other one over the that RF link. And then a little message will come up at the end saying, yeah, message successfully transmitted. And it just automatically stops your link to that RMS, wherever it is, so that somebody else can get on there. And as Jerry mentioned, if it's busy with somebody else's traffic, you'll see that if that's the station you got highlighted as the RMS you wanted to send your email through, you'll have a little red light saying, station busy. Actually, that light will even go on if there's some interference nearby, because it interprets that as busy. If you turn the audio up a little bit on your radio, I mean, you can tell it's busy just by listening, that somebody else is sending traffic, and there's the back and forth exchange of beeps, and then it'll go quiet and the light will go green, station free, and then you just hit start, and then it'll try to send your email.
Yes,
and then later on,
it sounds
you get
like
back
start.
on.
It
You
sounds
get back
like
on it to get the reply, right? Sorry, what was that, Marshall?
yeah, it sounds like the robots on Star Wars.
Yeah, yes, it does. Yeah, it sounds a lot like that R2D2. Good point. Yeah, that's a good description.
And another distinction between it and say FT8 is it's not a synchronized mode.
No.
So this can go at any time, whereas FT8 you have to synchronize your clocks to within a couple seconds usually.
Yeah, and like all email, it gives you the time shifting advantage, whereas a QSO, you're kind of both gotta be there attending the station, right? So that email I sent you a couple of weeks ago, Jerry, I think I sent it to you on UHF using that FARS digipeater. And then when you sent a reply to me, I got that downloaded to my computer when I was on Vera HF and picked it up from some station in the United States. So it's quite robust in that sense. But like I said, there's not a lot of sort of just chatty kind of usage of it that I'm aware of around here. They do have a group, I think, that does WinLink Wednesday or Thursday or something to keep fluent. But it's very useful for the emergency response crew. They've got all the incident command system forms and templates. If any of you are familiar with ICS from search and rescue and all that stuff is there. And you can send attachments, not over huge, right? You try to send a really big picture file, you're going to have a problem because you just don't have the bandwidth. But you can send like a document attached to an email, if you were running some kind of an MCOM exercise, and send it, right across the continent on the RF link. Just kind of neat.
So I just want to add that what Ken said about wrinkles of being, needing whitelisting, it's actually by design. It's not a wrinkle. Your WinLink mailbox is firewalled from the internet, right? It's it gets automatically whitelisted if you send to that email address, but that doesn't mean that everybody can send to your call sign at with winlink what is it .org or .net.
Yeah.
It's
You
on
imagine the
purpose,
spam you
right?
would get?
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's
So
not a bug, it's a feature. No, I understand absolutely. Otherwise, the network could get spammed and destroyed. So those controls
yeah.
make total sense.
So second point is about the message size. I think it's a 12 kilobytes. That's all you can send over the WinLink. And the third one that you probably need to be aware, WinLink emails are totally transparent, right? It's just like somebody would be recording, the hams speaking on the frequencies, right, and holding it for 30 days or something. If you log in into their portal, where when you have your mailbox on the web, right, you can basically look up other call signs what they were sending, right? Yeah, so there's no privacy whatsoever.
Yeah, they
And
do that to get around that you can't have any encryption, right?
yeah, exactly.
On ham bands. So they have to publish all of the traffic on the WinLink website. The only thing that I noticed is that WinLink website only publishes the decrypted clear text for stations where one end, at least of the conversation, was a US call sign. So I don't know where that leaves us in Canada if you're going Canada to Canada, because it's sort of an encryption, but I think it's a publicly available key, so it's kind of okay.
Okay,
Tim,
so but then yeah, go ahead then.
it's encoded, not encrypted,
Okay.
right? Which is different, right? So as long as the encoding method is published, which it is, right? Then it's okay to use. So I was going to also comment that the size limit is set by the WinLink admin team, right? Again, it's not like you're going to send, and like a movie file or something across on something that effectively is not very high bandwidth, right? With Vera FM on the V6FAR WinLink node, I've seen just over 22,000 bits per second. Of course, using a licensed Vera FM, as opposed to compare that to if you use AX.25 at 1200, it's quite a speed improvement. And the WinLink gateways do not store your messages, right? So in this case of an internet down kind of a scenario, right, you will actually get, when you connect to say V6FAR or the -10, which is the packet side, it will say that it can't reach their gateway, right? The WinLink core servers, and so there's no messages for you, and you can't send either, right? So that's one of the things. There's no local like mailboxes, as it were, right? And that's how it works. So it's strictly a pass through, right? But all things being normal, it works super quickly. The other thing is, and this is kind of cool too, and I had to do some experimentation when I first set it up, because running dual protocols, same frequency, same radio, and all that actually was a little bit of a challenge, and which took some effort to sort out a while back. And but anyway, so it can actually do multiple AX.25 connections concurrently, and up to one Vera FM at the same time. So we've actually, in testing, I've had 3 AX.25, so standard packet connections, concurrently, plus a Vera FM connection. So it's quite a robust system. If
Yeah,
I
just
say
then,
so.
just to note that there is another version of or flavor of WinLink. It's the post office, right?
Yes,
Something that
that's
does
a
have a mailbox server.
yeah, that's a different system, and so that's not been implemented, and there's no plan to.
Yeah, so like one of the slides said, the agencies widely use WinLink, right? But it's not about email for them, like DHS shares, Mars, CFARs in Canada. They don't use internet at all,
Yeah,
right? Oh, I mean, they can, but primarily it's peer-to-peer. But then, you have to be at the same time on the frequency exchanging messages, right? So
yeah,
therefore, there's that facility of the post office, right, where you can
yeah. You
connect and
can
leave your
you,
message, not
you
going
can
to the
set up a
internet.
post office on a server.
Hmm.
It's sort of an extension to what FARS has. And but it gets a little bit more complicated, a bit more overhead to manage that, right? But yeah, you can also do peer-to-peer connections, right? On any band, any mode. So it doesn't matter. You can do peer-to-peer with Packet. You can do it with Vera. You can do it with anything, and that works too, right? But
So what do you mean by peer-to-peer?
so when you were showing on the WinLink screen, right? You connect to V6 FAR, right? Well, you would connect, say, to Ken, to his call sign, right? And if his station is on the air, right, and he's also running, so when you start a WinLink session, right, there's all the regular connection types at the top. Look
Right.
lower down, and there's peer-to-peer
No,
connection.
I see that. I just so if Ken is connected to V6FAR,
No,
No, no.
no. So peer-to-peer is you start a peer-to-peer connection
okay,
and say, Ken, Ken, I'll pick on you. And you start a peer-to-peer connection, right? One of you can connect to the other. So Jerry, you would say, instead of connecting to V6 FAR, you're going to connect to V6 AGR, right? And as long as Ken has started his WinLink in peer-to-peer mode, right, then you can establish that connection.
so it's like connecting to an RMS, but just to each other instead.
You're
Yeah, it's
connecting to each
basically a
other.
digital message, right? Like it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be, you're not sending your email somewhere else. It's a message to a call sign, right? Encoded digitally.
So you're not sending emails to each other, you're sending
No.
messages.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's more like texting,
Okay.
right?
So it's like, are you directly connected? Are you directly sending message to his antenna, or it's still a relay?
No,
it
there's no
doesn't go through a
relay.
relay.
You have to be on the same frequency at the same time. One is sending, another is listening.
Oh, so you have to be on the same
Yeah.
frequency. Okay. And
So
it's like instant messaging kind of thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah. Yeah. So it doesn't require any middleman or any infrastructure. You could do it through a digipeater, but then that gets a little complicated, right? Because then you have to handle the routing. But normally you would do it, if you're across town from each other, right? Then you just call another station that is, available and listening.
I wanted to add my 2 cents.
Go ahead.
The first thing I would recommend is to send with low power at first, and also make sure that the frequency that the software picks is cut for your antenna, so that you don't. Yes, and also I searched YouTube and I found a video how to set it up for my rig, so you might be able to find a similar video on YouTube. for your rig. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, that's a really good point about the YouTube videos and so on. It's, every rig, it seems like that initial configuration headache, you got to get across that hump of getting all the settings right. It's like most things involving digital and computers, it's making it work the first time. And after that, it's great. But yeah, I had a time with my 991A trying to get everything configured correctly initially, whether it was for FT8 or JS8 call or Vera.
Well, I wish I had that experience because I actually had it. I was able to get it set up and working. I'm not sure what changed. I think there may have been a Windows 11 update in there. I don't know when I did that, but I could get no audio input now on Vera, no matter which internal speaker I choose for input. So I broke something or Windows broke something, and it's very frustrating.
It's very well protected.
Great. I can't use it. So my first experience with it, my initial experience with it was very good. It was very successful. I've got a bunch of messages that I was able to send and receive, but I don't know what changed. And I tried different sound cards or choosing different inputs, and I can't get anything into it. Just the needle pegs at -90 on the input. So
I wonder if
Fun.
The good news is,
reinstall.
nope,
go ahead, Dan.
I
Sorry.
said the good news is now nobody's going to accuse you of spamming them.
Hey, there you go. Thanks, Dan. Marshall, sorry.
Yeah, I just thought maybe a reinstall, but I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't I haven't got to that point yet, but I may do that.
You might
was
need
going
a new
to-
driver.
Yeah, that's a possibility. I was going through a USB hub where I had the data cable from my radio into the USB hub, and then it goes out to the computer. And just now I thought, well, maybe that might be the problem. So I took the data cable directly from the radio to the computer, and it's still the same problem. So I'll try it again, reselecting a different sound card when I'm not on Zoom, because maybe Zoom has captured the sound card. I don't know. Very frustrating, but when it worked, it was really cool.
Yeah, that summarizes, I think, a lot of our experiences with the digital modes. Is there's so many buttons to that can defeat the whole thing. Just one check mark in the wrong box or something. Yeah, we were trying to get FT8 to work with Doug CID's radio, and I discovered that after installing two important drivers, one for the audio and one for the what was the other one? The COM port. It still wasn't working properly. There was a limitation in the actual WSJT's software for that particular rig. And Cliff was their PLC, and he said, "Oh, I've got the same rig, and I know that if you use what seems like the proper drop-down menu item for this rig, it doesn't work. You have to use another one." So I'm glad he came by, and it's just little frustrations like that after spending 2 hours getting it to work, and then it wouldn't turn off. So yeah, these are growing pains with user friendliness that's never been delivered to this day. Oh well, don't get me started. Any other comments, experiences people want to add with WinLink?
Yeah, I'd like to jump in for a bit. I've played with, I don't know if anybody else has played with PAT, WinLink client, PAT, P-A-T. I'm going to put it in the chat right now. It's getpat.io. And it's a cross-platform WinLink client written in Go for both Linux, Mac OS, and Windows. And I'm running it on my Raspberry Pi right now, although only, because I don't have my radio set up to connect with it yet, only with the telnet sessions, because of course, anybody that has a WinLink email address, you have to submit at least one message, what is it, per year, I believe, in order to keep your account active. And if you don't, it gets shut down. So the nice thing about the PAT software, number one, it runs on my Raspberry Pi. Number two is I can set up command line automated systems, so I can run a cron job every Monday. It emails me a message to my v6rbn at winlink.org email address, just to keep that traffic flowing consistently. So it's kind of cool to play with. I haven't played with it with obviously Vera FM or whatnot, and that's the next step I want to try. But if anybody's looking at another alternative, it certainly doesn't have the bells and whistles that WinLink Express has, but still pretty powerful for use on the Raspberry Pi.
Very good. And I was going to ask Ken again. So on your handheld that you're using for VHF, UHF, what do you have a separate interface between it and your computer?
I wasn't using the handy. I was using my 991A because it does 70 centimeters and 2 meters as well as HF. So it was just all from home. I haven't tried it in the field. I'd probably resort to APRS messaging or Meshtastic or something like that if I was out in Kananaskis.
So it seems to me that this could be an issue, having a TNC or something along with you if you're doing a SOTA activation or whatever.
It could be done, but you'd be hauling along like something like one of those signal links. You
Right.
need a TNC. It's probably not going to be built into an HT.
Right. And you take your 991 with you.
Oh no! I watched Lewis haul an 897 up a SOTA hill once, but he's a lot younger and fitter than I am.
Right. Okay.
I have a little story if anybody might be interested.
Go ahead.
This is historical stuff. WinLink 0.0 kind of stuff. My son was on a crew on a sailboat coming up from the Caribbean, taking it to Vancouver, and they got becalmed, and their engine, they had a gasoline engine on this sailboat, wouldn't run. He had been sending me emails, just generally sort of information ones, over WinLink. One of the guys on board was a ham. And they ended up, because they were becalmed, and they sort of figured out what was wrong with the engine, but they needed parts. So using WinLink, they called a number of repair places on the island, managed to sail to there and get it fixed, and pulled out and came north, and end of the story.
I think even today, one of the best use cases for WinLink, apart from the emergency world and all that, is yachtsmen. They love it because you can send an email to grandma from the middle of the ocean if you've got propagation, right, on HF.
Yeah, that's right, Ken. And at that time, it wasn't acceptable to be base station to base station communication. It was supposed to be water to land. But interesting that it was useful, very useful for these guys. Got to a place, got the motor fixed. Away they went, and when the wind blew, they sailed, and when it didn't, they chugged.
Well, that's a great story of how it can help. With satellite phones, I wonder the future, although don't know how reliable some of those other systems are.
Yeah, that's right. That was ancient history. It's got to be 30 years ago. No such things as satellite phones. No such things as cell phones.
Well, I remember being on a seismic boat off the coast of Gabon in 1982, and we had a satellite Marsat thing, and it was about $12 a minute, I think, was the rate. So it was something you had to use as a last resort.